Link. I mentioned infrastructure in in my sporting sermon. So here with me in the studio is a gentleman called David Delali Amekpo. Now he is in charge of the outfit Kirapa Active. Kirapa Active has taken it upon themselves to put together sporting infrastructure across the country. They're resorting to a crowdfunding effort now to bring everybody on board and see how many of them can be, put up. Let me not go too much into it. He's here in the studio. He can do more justice to the topic. David, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you very much for having me.
You should have been there at the Kids Olympics to see our kids. It was amazing. It's amazing. And looking at your height as well, you probably should have done some swimming. Anyway, David, you have decided to put together this initiative of building infrastructure, sporting infrastructure, which are headlined by AstroTurf pitches across the country. Tell me first of all what makes these designs unique and what really you want to address within the communities. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you, Nat. For starters, let me just introduce this by saying complaining about a problem without posing a solution is called whining. I think for a very long shot, we in Ghana, the people, we've spoken about the lack of this or that infrastructure, the lack of build up towards, effectively managing these talents that we bring up from school level all the way to international level. And you realize that a selected few always seem to make it. And what happens to the huge chunk? They go into other businesses, or their dreams actually are mostly dead, or their hopes are dashed. I think Kirapa Active is trying to do something very unique for the sports and industry at large. We have been motivated to build infrastructure, for all sports and disciplines, not just football. And we started this campaign realizing the lack of infrastructure for all sports and disciplines. And this has been going on for years. Unfortunately, governments, as the major stakeholder, I find them to be a bit, under-resourced when it comes to these plans. So we feel that we need to take this up. We need to take whatever field exists in Ghana and turn them around into sports and recreational centers, because that's far lacking in our community. And
so obviously this is going to beef up what is being done, by the sports ministry in certain parts of the country.
Well, government is doing what it can, to ensure that pitches are built across the country. I think there needs to be a bit more value added to these pitches. It's not just building these pitches and having them sit there and having people just pay, a fee and go there and, play football. I think there's a lot more opportunity that these pitches present, and we need to look at them head on. Now, the facilities that we're looking to build, of course, are not just pitches, but we have adjoining facilities complementing them. We have things like changing rooms for both male and female, separate changing rooms for both male and female, a gymnasium. We have a pitch which is guarded with an overhead roof, meaning you can play whether it's sunny, you can play whether it rains, and you can play right late into the night. These are very interesting concepts that we're trying to introduce into the system. And that is just for the football side. Now, the other thing that we're looking to introduce as well is the facilities that would cater for basketball, swimming, tennis, because over the years we've seen all these. I mean, you spoke about that earlier on, about the Kids Olympics. Now, the question we should ask ourselves is, what happens to these talents? I mean, when they graduate from their current level and they go up, is there a succession plan for these kids? Where are they growing into? I mean, we need to look at all that. Then there needs to be a succession plan for what we do to these talents. Are they representing Ghana as a whole, Africa as a continent at the Olympics in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years? There needs to be that succession plan. So it needs to be well structured. So that's where the value added product comes in, which Kirapa Active is looking to enforce in its infrastructure developmental plan.
Where are we starting off, with these edifices across the country?
We starting to offer at Sukakope.
Okay.
We are building.
Any specific reason why it's Sukakope?
I'm a Voltairean.
Okay.
I come from the Volta region. We've been scoring the whole of Ghana for land for the last 3 years, in fact, or more. We happened to be in Sukakope a couple of years back when we presented this amazing idea to the locals, and they bought into it, and they figured if they could have something like this in their jurisdiction, in their community, they would develop their game. The football talents who are in Sukakope or the environs, the neighboring environs would, of course, have access to these facilities. And it's important to note as well that the facilities that we are building have to be affordable to all Ghanaians. So not just, to a selected few, but it needs to be available to all Ghanaians, where they would partake in leagues that we will run, tournaments that we're going to run, a host of football developmental programs, which of course adds value to the the individuals that come there to play.
Let's now go to and in wrapping up the conversation, let's quickly talk about the effort in getting funding and getting this on the ground and running.
Yeah, sure. So we launched a campaign to raise funds called crowdfunding. Now, crowdfunding is raising funds to support an idea or project, receiving contributions from a crowd of people. And in return for the support that you get from these backers, you give them a reward or a gift. So we have neatly thought out rewards that we're giving out to every single individual who donates to our campaign. And with as little as 5 Ghana cedis or more, you can get to support our campaign of supporting us to raise $100,000 to build our very first facility. Now, some of the giveaways that we have, Kirapa branded jerseys, football boots, a captain's armband, shin guards, FIFA 19 video game. And another interesting thing we just launched a couple of weeks ago as well is that if you gave us 100 Ghana cedis, you could get to play at the facility free of charge for 1 hour. And you get to bring 9 other colleagues of yours to join you for kick-about on the pitch. So the more funds you give us, above 100 Ghana cedis, the more game time you get to play at the facility free of charge. And these are the exciting rewards that we're giving out to.
How do we get on board in supporting this crowdfunding campaign?
So there are a number of channels, but the most notable one that I need to mention is a code, which I'll just mention right away. So you can dial *713 *3293 whichever amount you want to give, as little as 5 cedis, and then hash, and then you can support us. So I just go over again. So *713 *3293 the amount, and then hash.
Okay. Okay, David, thank you very much. These are conversations that we'll be having over the period, because Multimedia Sport is along with you on this journey. So we see the completion of at least the first, edifice covered, where people can play around the clock. So thank you very much. We'll be doing this some more on our other platforms, on television and on radio, and on our tree service as well. So David, let's see how all of it goes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nance.
You're still here on the Joy Sports Link on Joy 99.7 FM, and now would go over to our partners, the BBC, who have been having regular conversations with Joy Sports, George Addo Jr., ahead of big weekends such as these. Well, there's a lot to look forward to in Spain with the El Clasico, of course, that of Italy as well, and what's happening in England, the Merseyside Derby. We look ahead to all of these.
Thanks for your time this weekend. Let's dock at Chelsea for a minute. Lately have had everything dramatic happen. It all ended with a victory, though, over Spurs in midweek, with Kepa being left on the bench. How big a statement was that from Sarri?
Well, it was a much bigger statement than whoever made the decision to fine him a week's wages, wasn't it? It was a big statement, but it was the only statement Sarri could make. It was a no-brainer, I think, to drop Kepa. He completely undermined his manager's authority. So that, I think, probably, you'd have to ask him, but I suspect that was quite an easy decision. But the decision to fine him, and this is the thing, he's been fined by the club, not fined by the manager. He's been dropped by the manager. So when it comes to the fine, was that Sarri? Was that somebody else higher up? I don't know. But whoever made that decision, I think it was a bad decision, because Sarri had already said, oh, look, it was just a misunderstanding. By fining Arrizabalaga, they've made it clear, the club, that it wasn't a misunderstanding because they've deemed him to be worthy of sanctioning. So as far as I'm concerned, I think either properly punish him. Players get fined 2 weeks' wages for showing up late for the bus. Give him a proper fine, or don't fine him at all. So dropping him was the right call. Fining him 1 week's wages was a bit of a strange one.
Well, are Chelsea and Mauricio Sarri's problems over then, with a trip to Fulham on the horizon?
Yes and no. I think there's obviously been rightly a lot of talk about whether or not the players still have Sarri's back. But I think this was an isolated incident. I'm not sure it doesn't reveal anything, but it doesn't help Sarri at the same time. When people are asking whether the players are still playing for you or not, to be so openly disrespected by one of them is not good. I don't think it's an expression of the wider situation, but that said, it certainly did not help Sarri in any way, shape or form. But if it had been the tipping point or whatever, then he would have been sacked straight after the game. Abramovich wouldn't have hesitated, but obviously he's still got the job for now. Fulham have basically taken on the West Bromwich Albion model from last season. Remember, West Brom had Tony Pulis, sacked him, had Alan Pardew, sacked him, and then appointed a club legend in Darren Moore, who doesn't have any managerial experience. Well, that's literally what Fulham have done. They sacked Jukanovic, now they've sacked Ranieri, and now they've given the job to a club legend. And the reason they follow that model is because it works so well for West Brom. I mean, they still got relegated, but Darren Moore picked up some good results between then and the end of the season, and ultimately because of that he got the job, which makes perfect sense. So they're obviously hoping that Parker will do the same. They're 10 points from safety with 10 games to go. Very, very difficult to see them staying up. But if Parker gets some good results in the final weeks of the season, and remember, Darren Moore didn't just get good results against bang average sides, he got brilliant results against some top sides. So if Parker can mirror that, or even get halfway to mirroring that, he might get himself the job full time, which I suspect would be a popular decision with a lot of people at Fulham if things go well in the interim period, and also that can kind of help to wash off the stink of relegation if you finish the season strongly, even if you do go down.
So what went wrong with Spurs, who looked like worthy title contenders, lost back-to-back to Chelsea and Burnley, and now face Arsenal in the North London derby? Any underlying reasons for their decline? And will those, if any, have repercussions in the next game?
Well, I think we've talked a lot, haven't we, about Tottenham's squad in the past, and their failure to add any new players. And I think that this is probably the period of the season where that will come back to haunt you, if it's going to come back to haunt you, because Spurs are no different to Manchester City and Liverpool in the sense that they've had really good runs in the Champions League, and all three of those teams are still very much in the Champions League. But City have a stronger squad, a squad with a lot more depth, and the same is true of Liverpool. So I think Spurs, even though they've managed to keep key players fit for most of the season, obviously with the exception of Harry Kane's big injury that he's just come back from, I think that they probably are a little bit tired, and you can see they're a bit frustrated. I was at the Burnley game just over a week ago now that they obviously lost, and you saw Pochettino's frustration after the match with the referee. Then you saw the frustration that Harry Kane had coming together with Azpilicueta, and then also coming together with David Luiz. That's not a very Harry Kane thing to do. He doesn't normally get involved in that kind of thing. So ultimately I think they're probably a bit tired. But in terms of the way it'll affect the North London derby, I think that's such a big game that they'll just get through that on adrenaline. So it wouldn't surprise me to see Spurs come back to form and win that game. But ultimately now their season, it has to be said, is about hanging on to a top 4 place, not challenging for the title.
So let's get onto the title race now. Still delicately poised. Liverpool, with squad depth issues with respect to the champion City, looked very good against Watford at Anfield. Do you expect same from Klopp's men against Everton in the Merseyside derby?
Well, it's kind of like what we just talked about, isn't it? You know, in a big derby, you get through on adrenaline. That said, remember the reverse fixture when Liverpool only won thanks to a really lucky goal right at the end of the game, when Van Dijk completely shanks a volley, hits the bar. Pickford did make a huge error with that goal, and Liverpool had lift-off from that moment on, and Everton went into a bit of a downward spiral. So I think if Liverpool were to win this game, I think it could have the same effect again. I mean, you look at their upcoming games in the Premier League surrounding that massive game in the against Bayern Munich in the Champions League. After Everton, their next 2 games are Burnley and Fulham, and then they've got Tottenham Hotspur. So it's not a particularly easy run of results. No disrespect to Fulham, but I think that is the standout game there that they will expect to win, which is on Sunday the 17th of March. But yeah, I mean, I think it all comes down to the running, and I am in no way going to predict who wins this Premier League title, because just when you start to think Manchester City might be losing a little bit of energy, they go out and spank somebody, and the same is true of Liverpool, isn't it? You know, they'd drawn 3 of their last 4 matches before they played Watford, and then they just absolutely battered them 5-0.
Let's end with Manchester United's game with Southampton and the champions' travel to Bournemouth. Straight wins for the Manchester sides?
Yeah, I mean, Bournemouth are suddenly in a bad way, aren't they? I mean, they themselves were absolutely hammered in their last game, you know, at Arsenal, and that was one of those games where, okay, you kind of expected that they wouldn't win the game, but it wasn't just the fact that they lost. Defensively, you know, they were absolutely shambolic in that match. You know, there were times in that game where the 2 central defenders were so far apart. You know, it was like a training game for Arsenal. So Manchester City, obviously big favourites going into that game, and it's probably the worst kind of team you could play off the back of that kind of a humbling. And for Manchester United, you know, they obviously have a Southampton team who are off the back of a victory. It was the victory over Fulham, which spelt the end for Claudio Ranieri. But the way Manchester United are playing at the moment, it's very, very difficult to see them slipping up. And, you know, suddenly now Solskjaer's got a massive selection headache, because Rashford has been sensational under him, playing as a centre-forward. Lukaku, though, was back to fine form in the win at Crystal Palace. So, you know, which one of those 2 players starts? They could both start, but it's been pretty clear from the early stages of the Solskjaer era that both of them would rather be playing as a centre-forward rather than a winger.
Also, the London derby is underway. 11 minutes played so far at Wembley Stadium. Tottenham Hotspurs 0, Arsenal 0. Let's see how all of it goes. Remember, issues of the top 4 place as we get closer and closer to the end of another season. We'll see how all of it goes. You send in your messages. Remember, 0244 340 437. 0244 340 437. So he's a little past 40, and he is counted as one of the 10 greats who have graced World Championship status and brought Ghana massive international recognition. In recent times, he has announced a return to the boxing ring after 3 years. He hasn't fought in Ghana for 16 years and looks forward to starting off another journey again. From the eye of every boxing fan, his age surely will be an issue, and the number of years he's spent away from the ring will also be an issue. But he has a certain level of confidence of coming back and doing something magical. And of course, that returns me to the year 2005, when former WBA welterweight champion Ike Bazooka Quartey also staged a comeback. So I had this earlier conversation with Joshua Clottey. I must also state that he was expected here in the studio. Unfortunately, he chickened out, did not appear here. So we're bringing you a conversation that we had with him along the same lines, and he'll be telling us what the motivation is for wanting to do it again at this time when he's a little past 40. Joshua, it's good to see you.
Thank you.
And you look good. You look trim. Meaning you've been very active in the gym all this while?
Yeah. I'm always in the gym. I'm always in the gym because I never set to my mind that I'm retiring. So I always have to be in the gym.
I see. Now, tell me, this return that you are making, I mean, what's the whole motive behind it? Because you've been away from the action for 3 years.
First of all, I have to test my body. I've been in the ring for 3 years, so I have to test my body and see if I can still continue. I believe 100% I can still continue because I've been sparring with the guys in the gym and I feel okay. So I think I will finish this fight and see what I will do next. But I'm still in boxing.
Okay. When you went away for 3 years, I mean, many people were wondering, I mean, is the career over? Because normally when a boxer your caliber is inactive for that long, the talk around is that, you're nearing the end. And also you're not getting younger as well.
Well, I started negotiating with my people, but it's been back and forth. And the reason is that because I don't want to sit down and just fight for that promoter for coin. If you have to be a coin, then you have to be a low opponent. If you have to be a good opponent, you have to be a money. That's why we're going back and forth. So I decided to fight here much better without no money than to fight for him. Maybe the money that he's telling me that I don't like.
When you say him, who are you talking about?
I'm talking about my promoter, Star Boxing.
How is the relationship with Star Boxing going? I mean, you signed some time back with Top Rank and you worked with them. They gave you the biggest fights of your career. What's the way forward, and how has the relationship gone so far with Star Boxing?
Well, we are very, very fine. I even told him that I wanted to bring some boxers to him to promote them, and he really agreed. He gave a couple of the boxers a promotional contract to sign them, but they failed to sign. I don't want to mention names, and I don't want to go to details. So he's a very good man to me. We have a very good relationship. But you see, this is how it is. You sign contract with somebody, and the contract that you sign with the person, you had 6 fights. You won 5. You lost 1. The one that you lost was his fault because he put me to middleweight, which is not my weight. So when the next contract have to be, to me, the contract have to be improving, not disproving. So if you try to disprove the contract, I will not allow you. See, that's our problem. So we're going back and forth. So he knows that I'm fighting here. So after this fight, before we know what to do.
I see. The relaunch of this career, I mean, you've said severally that you're fighting for free and you want to test your body as well. Is it to get yourself back in mainstream boxing, or you're just doing this to go back and call it a career?
This is a feeling. Sometimes you might go to you might get to this body, and when you get to the body, it leads you to another fight. But when you grow, right, you see that you're getting fat, right? Sometimes you feel like you don't need to go to the gym and fight again. But when you get this type of body, you get the body back for the boxing, it pushes you to another fight.
So you basically are coming back, and the aim is to get another world title before you call it quits. Is that it?
Yes. After this fight, right, my body will be calling for more fights. And one thing about this whole thing is, I went to the gym as far, I feel like I'm still have the body to fight boxing. You know, I respect my body a lot. You know, I've fought a lot of guys. I've made money in the game. I have put some properties down for myself and my children. I'm not going to the ring because I'm hungry or something, but I'm going to the ring because I wanted to fight again. So I think when I went to the ring and I was sparring, I was thinking about the body, but I realized the body can still take it. So I'm there.
Now, on March 8th, I mean, what do we expect of you, in that bout? I mean, you haven't done it in a while. What should we expect of Joshua?
Well, I thought I wanted to fight. Then the media would talk about me not to retire. That's what I wanted to do. Me and the media, we are in a challenge now. My challenge to the media is I want them to talk about me after this fight. They're talking that Joshua, don't retire because you can still do it. That's my main focus for this fight.
Currently in the division, there are names now who are dominating. Any of them who's caught your attention, who potentially you'd want to face off with eventually when you are done with this phase of relaunching your career?
I always like to fight with the guy, the IBF and WBA guy, Jerry Hard, because I watched him several times and I realized that he's beatable. But you see, let's take this first before we think about another one.
You've gone back and forth between here and the United States. What's the plan going to be like? I mean, when you start intensive training, are you going to be here? Are you going to do intensive training in the U.S.? How does all of it work out? How does it play out?
You know, here, right, you always get everything to train. The only thing is the facilities are not many here. But the people to spar with are most important thing. And you know, boxing, when you are in a fight, the sparring is the main thing, and the jogging. You have a road, you have a beach around you, you have people, a lot of people to spar with you. I've already sparring a lot because the guys are a lot there. So I think to train here is always good. But you know, sometimes the facilities. But you know, when you are physically fit for a fight, you don't need a lot of facilities.
In the last 3 years, if I'm correct, we have lost key names in boxing, including your own trainer, Coach Godwin Nijani Kote Aloe. What's the arrangement like now? Who's training you, and who are you working with?
People never. I'm working with Coach Atakai. Coach
Vincent Akainete.
Yeah, he's the one that Aloe left everything for. But you know, people don't really know. Aloe death took my boxing career away, but people never realize. Since I fought in the 2005 was the time that Aloe died, I never fought again. So I'm relaunching my career back.
Tell me about the relationship between you and Aloe and the closeness. I mean, we've heard so many stories about boxers and their trainers, the kinds of relationships that they have. Tell me about what made your relationship with Aloe unique. And another thing, too, is that he was not there, unfortunately, because of visa denial, was not there at the ringside when you fought Manny Pacquiao. Tell us about your relationship with him.
You know, he's the best. He's the best among the best. You know, I don't know how to describe him, but he's somebody who cares about you. You know, most of the coaches in Ghana, they only care about the money. They don't care about the fighter. Aloe cares about me a lot. He cares about the fighters. And he's somebody who really don't care about what we're going to earn in the fight. He's somebody, he's real man. You know, God really took special man away. He's a special man. I really sad anytime I'm talking about him because I feel like he's supposed to be here. You don't have to die now. It's too early for him to die because he's a special person who cares about everybody. I never seen him argue with anybody before in my life. I wish I know him long time ago. That's why the Pacquiao fight, I've been crying, going around back and forth for him to get a visa, for him to make the money. If he get a visa and he make that fight, we went to that fight, he make that money, by now I'm sure he'll be living.
Well, may his soul rest in peace. You've done some observation as well about what's happening around in the lightweight division. Our own boxers are here. They're doing great stuff. I mean, Richard Commey is now a world champion. Let's talk about the lightweight division. You've seen Richard Commey. You saw him. You've been seeing him train. What kind of potential do you think he has as a boxer to dominate in the lightweight division?
Richard Commey, one good thing I know about him is he never joke with his training. That's how I am. In boxing, no matter how good you are, if you don't train, you can never go nowhere. I can give you example. The best boxer we have in Ghana. The best boxer we have in Ghana, including everybody, Azuma Nelson, Afrekote, Aikwote, me, Joseph Agbego, Dogbe, Afrekote is the best boxer among all of us. He's the best boxer, no doubt, Afrekote. But see what bring him down. Laziness. He's the best boxer, but his weaknesses is always lazy. That's the reason why Afrekote was not great. But Afrekote is the best boxer among all the Ghanaian fighters. I beat my chest for that. Yeah.
Do you see Richard dominating? How far do you see him going in the division? There's Vasily Lomachenko staring at him. That fight is being talked about. You think that Richard has what it takes to overcome that hurdle?
Well, Richard is a good fighter. He's strong. He trains a lot. I think the only person I feel like he have to avoid is Lomachenko. I think it's too early for them to fight now. Richard have the size. He have the punches to, fight with Lomachenko. But sometimes we have to think about the ability of the two and the skills-wise. Lomachenko fought almost 400 amateur fights. He never lost any of them. He have amateur experience and he's a good fighter. You know about Richard Commey, right? Richard Commey come from kickboxing to boxing. So he never had any experience about amateur. Sometimes we never know. In this boxing game, when you get to the ring, with those that they have the experience in amateur, it's always a problem to you, those that you don't have amateur experience. If you don't know, you don't know. Richard can beat Lomachenko, but to me, they have to wait for now. I think that fight have to wait for now. I'm not sure it's supposed to be fight now because that guy Lomachenko, I've watched him. He's special among all the fighters too. What Mayweather did in boxing, what Pacquiao did in boxing, Lomachenko is doing times 20. He's a special fighter. I watched him several times and he's unbelievable. He's a beatable. The only guy that beat him is Salido. That was his second fight, and it was a world title. The guy roughed him. He bullied him. He did everything, pushing him down, punching his balls before he beat him. Since that, he never lost a fight. He had 14 fights, and he had won title from featherweight, super featherweight, and lightweight. Only 14 fights. So see how special he is. I think Richard have the head to beat him, but to me, we have to wait for this fight. Maybe.
Joshua, when do you think Richard Commey will be ready for that fight?
When Richard Commey defend the IBF 2 times, he will be ready for Lomachenko. He have to defend the title. For the defense of the title. Let me tell you something. When I won my IBF, I did not defend. But this is how it is. They wanted me to go to Australia, wanted me to go to South Africa and fought with Wachirayu. And it was, and it was a very bad fight. They might rob me. And they want me to fight with Miguel Cotto for unification on the Puerto Rican Paris Day. They're talking about $700,000 and $80,000. And you see the difference. And the Cotto fight is another WBO title if I lose my IBF. So I have to go for Cotto fight because it's a world title. At the same time, it's good money. You see, so I went there, I showcased to everybody that I won the fight, they robbed me. That's why I got Miguel Cotto fight, Pacquiao fight. So sometimes you have to go in there and find somebody who is much good that can generate you something or can get you a bigger fight. But Lomachenko and Obite, that promoter that I called Ludibella, I never liked that man because he used to be my promoter. He always wanted to give you to the wolves because he don't want to push you there to promote you. Like he put Lomachenko and Obite fight because he feel like there's going to be more money and he will get his cuts. But I don't care about Obite. So I think Obite have to, his manager, they have to care about themselves. Defend the title twice before Lomachenko. I think it will be good.
Isaac Dogboe lost out, in his last fight. He is more or less confirmed for a title defense. How do you assess his chances of returning as well?
One thing, Dogboe fight like me. Whatever Dogboe is doing now in the ring, I have done that. I'm a fighter. I always attack. When you are a fighter, you always attack. You don't have a defense. You're always going to decline when the punches started getting to you. Dogboe don't have a defense. They always learn the attack, but they don't learn the defense. Listen to me. I fought with Manny Pacquiao. It was a very bad performance from my side. But listen, I was there with Manny Pacquiao. The whole 12 rounds stuck on him. No even going back. You know why? Because I have a good defense. Dogboe was there. He was hitting the guy with all his punches. But when the guy started hitting him and he don't get a defense, he started declining, running away. He lost straight because he don't have a defense. I think what Dogboe and the father have to do now, Dogboe have to learn the defense because you attacking without defending, no. Because listen, the one that you're going to fight is going to punch you too. So when you don't have a good defense, and you punching him, he's punching you, and your punches are not going to hurt him, his punches are going to hurt you. When the punches started hurting you, you started running. And when you started running, you lost because you are a fighter. He's not a boxer. They have to learn the defense because Dogboe is attacker. An attacker without no defense, you are useless. Okay. I think I am among those that they feel like Dogboe is going to be great. But I realized one thing that when he fought with the guy that he fought, you people, is a very simple like Margarito. If he were, he throw punches any angle. I fought with Margarito. I broke my hands. 1, 2, 1, 4th and 5th round. I was stuck there till the 12th rounds without even no hands. Because I have a good defense. You have to defend. This is boxing. You have to defend. And Dogboe is a good puncher. But when you don't mix with defensive, you cannot. I think the real man that is going to fight, I was thinking about it. If I were him, I think I feel like he have to fight 1-2 fight in Ghana to, take off the loose, to feel refreshing, feel like you're a winner before you go in there. The guy that is going to fight, he might win. Dogboe might win, but it's a very tough fight. Because this guy, he throw punches any angle. Do we know if Dogboe learn defense? If Dogboe cannot defend, it's going to be the same similar situation. Because the guy keep throwing punches at Dogboe. And it feel like the punches that he throw at Dogboe hurt Dogboe. That's why Dogboe started declining, going back. So when it's the same thing, it's going to be the same thing. You have to defend what you punch. When you punch, you have to defend. If you don't defend, they punching you, you punching him. Who for the punches hurt my run.
Joshua, you earlier mentioned your trainer that you're now working with, Vincent Akainete. Is he enough to handle this phase of your career where you want to get back into the mainstream and get back up there where the big boys play? Is he the man? Is he enough? Does he have what it takes?
When I was even fighting busy, I was trainer. My trainer is Coach Kwame Asante. You know, I always get to the ring, do most of things by myself. Because this is boxing, calculation thing. When you get to the ring, your trainer might tell you have a game plan about going to the body. You go to the body, the person counter you. You have to be smart in the ring to change the plan. You always have to have a plan. That's why I told you. You have to fight as a boxer. You have to be in amateur for long so that you get all this experience. Right now, when I holding a part for me, we learn. We all learn together. I allow him to do his job as a trainer. I bring mine to hit so that we get it one. Because I'm a professional fighter. I'm a former world champion. I have been in the ring with best of the best. So I'm not going to sit down even with my trainer doing something that I know that maybe it's not good. I have to add my voice to it so that we all get it one. He can. He's doing his job. But when I know that this is not right, I tell him, then we talk about it.
So Joshua, back again to the point. Are you going to work with him throughout till you call it quits, or you are going to make an addition to your corner? Because you have made an assessment, you know what you're talking about regarding his quality and how good he is.
I don't change trainers. I don't change. The only time I think about changing trainer when I started call the media telling them all sorts of things that is not true, and I choose a trainer. But I don't change trainers. And I believe that sometimes, like people are saying, Dogbe has to change his father. I think it's not needed. His father is there for him. They are good. They've been doing it. If he lost, doesn't mean that they have to change trainers. The black trainers too, they are also trainers. It's about you, the fighter. Do the right thing. I know I have a fight. I have to go home 9 o'clock to sleep. Wake up in the morning, go to jogging. Go to gym, spar, do everything. It's about you. It's about you. Is the trainer change the one that Obite, Richard Comey training with?
And Andre Rosier.
Has he changed Obite, Richard Comey? Does he change him? He doesn't change him. Obite is a serious fighter. The only thing that it changes Obite is Obite now counts for kill. He wanted to start exploding from first bell. But that one too, we have to wait. If he's going to continue that first bell to 12 rounds, that is when you're going to know that he changes it. Because now, when they sound the bell for the round one, it comes to attack. But that is early rounds. When it gets to round 8 and he keeps doing that, that means the trainer changes him. I understand boxing different thing. I don't believe in changing trainer. I believe in you. Learn. I learn a lot. I'm trying to miss a lot of punches my own self. If I go to the ring, I see holes. I'm trying to bullet that hole. That is me.
How's family doing?
Well, family is good. That's my boy. That's the boy that I said he was never going to fight boxing. And I gave him birth to U.S. He's a citizen in U.S. And he's here for holidays. I want him to, because it's cold, I want him to feel the Ghana culture. I was taking back and forth because he's the boy that I love. He's my only boy. And I have one daughter too.
How's she doing as well?
She's in Legon. She's doing very well. I'm doing best as a father.
I see. All right. So, Joshua, all the best on the day. We're looking forward to seeing you on the day. And a final message for your fans, Ghanaians?
Well, I really wanted to do this fight. That's why I'm at the press conference. It's too far for me. I always like to stay in my house and where I feel comfortable. But I came to this press conference because I wanted to fight. I wanted to do something different, for them to compare me and the current fighters. So I think everybody has to come and watch this fight.
Okay. All right. Joshua, all the best and thank you very much. So that was a conversation with Joshua the Heater Clottey, a former IBF welterweight champion, and he will be in the ring on March 8th, 2019, and he says that he is relaunching his career. He wants to get back up there, and he's given us the reasons why. Well, we'll be keeping the tabs, and we surely will be telling you the story, as we always do, from every possible angle. Still here on the Joy Sports Link on Joy 99.7 FM. Gone by a conversation with the man, Joshua Clottey, the Heater or the Grandmaster. He's in action here in Accra at the Bukom Boxing Arena. March 8th against Mfaume of Tanzania in a 10-round, super welterweight or light middleweight contest. He says that he wants to prove to the rest of the world that he still has the boxing in him. It's not about money. He's not getting paid for this fight. However, he's going to become a world champion again. We will follow that story. We will tell it to you. Let your messages come in. 0244340437. There's a message from Nia Dokwe Kujo which says, great sports sermon. You just made my afternoon talking about this issue of neglect of youth development programs of sports federations. Kudos. Okay, there's a message here from Wilson in Cantonments. He says Joshua is not being honest. According to Emmanuel Clottey, Joshua frustrated his efforts to continue boxing when he was not 40. Joshua, has justified his stance that continuing boxing was not good for his health. Keep the messages coming in. 0244340437. So there's more messages. We'll just go into them and then get on the phone line. So Eko Asma has written, he's an author, he's a boxing author. And of course a boxing specialist as well. Joins us on the phone line to do some quick analysis on Joshua Clottey's announced return and whether there is anything at all that we can look at or anything unique about this journey that has been announced and what can be derived out of it. Eko, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, brother.
Now, you've listened to Joshua. I mean, you've heard him go on and on about this comeback. First of all, what strikes you about his his language and his the kind of vibe that he's giving out?
Well, thank you very much. Joshua is a fighter, so I'm not surprised at all. I remember when he got dropped from the national team in the Black Bombers when they were going to the Commonwealth Games in Victoria, Canada, 1994. He fought back and got his place back. Actually, they went there and then he was made to fight at a different weight and lost and all that. But he's a fighter. What surprises me, though, is that after 3 years, when I'd seen him a number of times at the Bukom Arena, rather coaching, he had the itch, coaching fighters on fight nights and all that. So I thought it was done. But for him to come back this way, I'm not surprised by his vim, because in my estimation, he's seen somebody like Pacquiao out there at 40 years, still with a title. So, and that's somebody he fought, at the Dallas Cowboys Stadium, and most folks think he could have won. So I'm not surprised if he's looking at what Pacquiao is doing to feel that it said, you know what, let me go back and do it. And he mentioned his conditioning. He said he felt that his body could take the punches and all that. But against a younger, hungrier fighter, it's always the bane of great fighters who have, in the end, overstayed their welcome. So we welcome him back, but I would rather he did not, and that he rather, opened up gyms and got other fighters under his management and produced world champions for Ghana.
But I call the executioner, Bernard Hopkins fought, and he broke the record that George Foreman had set at age 46. George Foreman set it at 45, and then he broke his own record at age 48. So, isn't there anything at all that can we just give it the benefit of the doubt at all from your side as an analyst?
You see, I've always been against overage fighters. I call the 40s overage fighters, starting from when Mike Tyson destroyed Larry Holmes. I did not like the manner in which such a great legend of the sport was destroyed in the ring. It was pathetic. And even Bernard Hopkins, look at how he ended when Joe Smith demolished him. We don't want to see our heroes go out like that. So he may think that his body is responding well, he can take punches and all that, and this is a low-risk fight that he's about to take. But once he wins, then he'll be like, oh, yeah, I'm going to hang around longer. And then, boom. We don't want Joshua to end in an ignominious way. No, we want to remember Joshua, the vintage Joshua, So, well, he has a number of artists you could look at and said, oh, I'm inspired by Hopkins. I'm inspired by who else? The great Azumah Nelson came back, but he was still in his prime against Realize, against Jesse James Leah. He went back against Jeff Fenech and lost. We don't want to remember them in the days when their reflexes are blunt, taking too many punches. We want to remember them in their heydays. Joshua has the right to decide whatever he wants. And because he's feeling good, he mentioned the conditioning and that he can take punches so he can get in the mix with the young guys. But it's not the best case scenario. There are other things he could do to help the sport, especially in Ghana, that he himself getting in the ring and training punches.
Now, you saw Ike Bazooka Quarte's comeback. It ended with a fight with Winky Wright. Now, Ike went in there. He won against Clint McNeil. He won against Verno Phillips. He won against Carlos Bojorquez. And then he lost against Vernon Forrest, the late Vernon Forrest. And then he fought his childhood, boxing mate, Winky Wright, in Las Vegas and lost to him. What kinds of lessons would you want Joshua to learn from his compatriot, Ike Bazooka Quarte?
I would say in the case of Ike Quarte, he didn't feel fulfilled from the De La Hoya fight. So he wanted to continue. Besides that, Ike had a 7-fight, $12 million contract with HBO that he had to fulfill. So even though he didn't have the title, he still had to fulfill that contract, and he was still very viable. So I think, to a large extent, it was part of the reason he hung around up until he fulfilled that contract. In my estimation, he would have quit long before then. But Ike always told me that he always wanted to quit early and enjoy his riches in good health. He was always citing Muhammad Ali, even when he had the title. When he had just beaten Espana and I interviewed him. I remember I was the first to interview him at the then Novotel, now Accra City Hotel. His first statement he said about hanging around too long was that he wouldn't be the one. He would not hang around. So in the case of Ike, it was because he had to fulfill a contract. And he didn't go out in a terrible manner. He still has his faculties with him. But with Joshua, I don't think Joshua is under any contract to fulfill for him to want to come back and do this. Joshua, fortunate, he's still good. He's still hanging around the boys. He's seen the level boxing is going. We only have one world champion now. Best case scenario, I would have wished for Ikote to have opened a gym and have a stable of young fighters, hungry fighters, that he would turn into world champions. Fortunately, it's not too late for Joshua. So that would be my advice to him.
At least at this time, I mean, he's already in it. I mean, he's signed to fight on March 8th. He's likely to continue from there. So let's now look at the reality of the situation.
Okay.
How long, how many fights, for instance, would you advise from your point of view that he does, then at least he can call it a wrap?
Just this one, because of the contractual obligation. Just this one, that's it. Because I really don't think he should be hanging around and hanging out with the younger boys. I want his legacy.
What if he puts up? What if he puts up a performance to convince you, Eko Asma?
No, I won't be convinced. What is his opponent? You know, what's the caliber of opponent is he having? He's seen the very best already, and who's the opponent? What has he done in boxing? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Joshua doesn't need to prove to anybody anything. He's feeling the itch. Just like, you know, all very good athletes, when they retire and they see the young guys doing, they're like, no, I can do better than that. Then they come back. So I understand. But I think he'll do better for Ghana boxing if he opened up a gym and got a stable of young fighters under his wing to train and get us more world champions. So now, because of the obligation of fighting in this particular fight, he came back out now. He may, people back out even 48 hours before fight, citing all kinds of reasons. But if he wants to go through with it, fine. But really, that's not something I would endorse or advise Joshua to do now.
In wrapping up this conversation, Eko, rolling back the years, which of Joshua Clottey's bouts would you say impressed you the most?
There's the Judah fight. You know, he stopped the fight technically because he beat him to a pulp. And that was a several times over champion with nobody actually gave him a chance. I watched the fight live. I remember that Joshua, they always talk about Joshua having the potential, talking about him coming from Azuma Nelson's country, Ikote's country, he has the potential, but they really didn't take him serious. They thought that Joshua is a durable fighter. Everybody will talk to you about Joshua being very durable, great defense like he's been talking about, but nobody gave him a dog's chance, and he actually punished him a lot. And the manner that it came about, there was no way he could have been robbed. It was just total. So that was it. That one particular one. And then the right next to that is the Pacquiao fight. I was very disappointed. I thought he could have taken Pacquiao out. But, well, he did his very best. And he's written his name in golden letters. He will be in the Hall of Fame, definitely, in Ghana boxing. I wish him all the best, whatever he decides to do after this.
Eko, thank you very much for your time this afternoon on the Joy Sports Link.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And I look forward to bumping into you at the Bukum Arena on, on March 8th.
All right. Joshua, all the best.
All right. So that was Eko Asma. Eko Asma is a boxing specialist, an author, written at least 2 books, on boxing and Ghana's boxing world champions, speaking to us there. Let your voice be heard. Send your messages in. Dixon Pedro Jr. says it's about making money, not making history. We are not kids, so Pedwan GH says, please ask him whether he's fighting for free. Yes, he answered that question, and he says that the motivation for this particular fight on March 8 in Accra is not for the money. He wants to fight, and he wants to take a major test in the ring. Ofori Pascal Zamani says, we all know that it's about making a few thousands of dollars. And then Alonio Rodrigo says that this economy, We'll be activating the phone lines in a bit so that we can all, get talking. But let's do some Kumasi Asante Kotoko business as well. We're 23 minutes past 1 p.m. We're going to the top of the hour. Remember, we're going to the top of the hour 2 p.m. here on the Joy Sports Link with me, Nathaniel Atto. So as the situation stands in Group C of the ongoing CAF Confederation Cup, Kumasi Asante Kotoko occupy the bottom spot. So Nkana FC have 6 points, a goal difference of +1 after playing 3 matches. Al Hilal Omdurman of Sudan have 4 points from playing 3 matches. They have no goal advantage. Zesco United of Zambia also have 4 points. They have a goals difference or +1 of a goal advantage after playing 3 games. Then comes our very own Kumasi Asante Kotoko, who have 3 points from a possible 9 after playing 3 games in the group stage of the ongoing CAF Confederation Cup. So as it stands now, Asante Kotoko have a very big risk of not making it to the next stage of the competition. However, the mathematics can come to play here. Kumasi Asante Kotoko have set out to win the remaining 2 games. Before that, however, let me just take you through the journey. So Kumasi Asante Kotoko went away to play Kariobangi Sharks of Kenya. It was a goalless drawn game. They returned to Accra last year in December to play Kariobangi Sharks. They beat them by 2-1 at the Baba Yara Stadium. And then they played Cotton Sport Garou of Cameroon and beat them 3-2 away. Kumasi Asante Kotoko returned to Accra and beat Cotton Sport by 2-1. Al Hilal Omdurman 1-0. They lost by 1-0 to Al Hilal Omdurman in Sudan. And of course, it was good enough to get them into the, of course, at this stage, they have gotten into the group stage. So Asante Kotoko's best result in the group stage was that 2-1 win against Zesco United at the Baba Yara Stadium. Nkana FC defeated Kotoko 3-1 in their last game. So we're looking forward to the return leg Nkana FC, on the other hand, they drew goalless with San Pedro FC. And then they lost 2-0 to Zesco United. And then they beat Al Hilal by 2-1. And then the win against Asante Kotoko in the first leg of this encounter by 3-1. So we're going to go on the phone lines again. I'll go over to Kumasi in a bit. And of course, we'll be speaking to our correspondent there. Remember that we're bringing you live commentary of that game. And of course, we will be keeping you tabs, of course, giving you all of the action as it happens from the Baba Yara Stadium right here. Remember, we'll do the build-up from 2:50 p.m. here on the show. All right, so we'll activate the phone lines a bit and take your thoughts on boxing, and then after that would resume the discussions on Kumasi Asante Kotoko and the new mission statement in the thick of this journey, where they say that they want to win the remaining 2 games in the group and save their campaign. So 0302-216-541. 0302-216-541. Get through to us. Tell us what you also make of Joshua Clotte's thoughts and his words. He's a former former IBF welterweight champion. He says that he's making a return and he will become a world champion again. He's not doing this for the money for starts, but he wants to just prove a point to the whole country and to tell everybody that he is ready and good to go. All right, so we'll be getting, those thoughts as well. Get them in. Remember, in the meantime as well, you can get through to us on 0244-340-437, 0244-340-437. That's our WhatsApp line. Get us, your messages, and let's get talking. Okay, so let's get on the phone line again and speak to Benedict Owusu. Benedict Owusu is a member of the commentary team of Joy Sports. They'll be bringing us that game, and they'll be bringing us that game from the Babara Stadium. It'll be live right here on Joy 99.7 FM. Benedict, good to have you. Hope you had a safe flight.
Well, yeah, Nat, it was wonderful. We just arrived in Kumasi some 30 minutes ago.
Tell me about, conversations. I'm sure that, from the airport all the way to your hotel, you've had conversations with people. What are the thoughts going into this game, which obviously is going to be a very difficult encounter?
Well, not, of course. I mean, they already know what's at stake. The Asante Kotoko family here know very well that anything short of victory tomorrow, God willing, will see their team below their chance of making the next stage of the competition. And of course, if you speak to the fans, the people that we met at the airport, also even the taxi driver that brought us to our hotel, was very optimistic that this team can win tomorrow's game. I mean, he made reference to the away game which they lost by 3-1, and he thought that was unfortunate that the team lost, and even lost by that margin. He thought that Asante Kotoko played very well, and for him, it was one of their best performances in this season or in this year's competition. And for the team to have gone away to have lost that game was very, very unfortunate. So he feels that getting the opportunity to play at the Babara Stadium tomorrow, God willing, where they will have the home fans, behind them, he feels that Asante Kotoko can win or replicate the same scoreline they suffered at the hands of Nkana at the Babara Stadium to put their, chances of making the next stage of the competition on track.
Ahead of this game, Coach Siki Akono is likely to have the full complements of his team. However, we pick up that, Richard Senanu is, that in defense, for instance, could be a doubt for this game. What's the latest you pick on Senanu?
Yes, rightly said. Richard Senanu, who is a midfielder, picked up an injury in their last 2 games, so he was unavailable in their last game away to Nkana. It's certain, and it looks like he's not going to be part of the team because he has not recovered from that injury. But notwithstanding, Siki Akono, I've been reading excerpts of his press conference, his pre-match press conference, and he's talked about how he has talked to the players after what happened in Kuche, which they lost by 2-1 to Nkana. That he feels that everything that happened there were just based and due to individual errors, and he feels that they've corrected everything going into this game. So the unavailability of someone like Richard Senanu, who we've known him to be a great part of this team throughout this competition, will not affect the side. Of course, I mean he takes pride in having someone like Kwame Bonsu still in the team, and he also feels that their captain, that's most important, will not be available for this game due to accumulated yellow cards, and he feels that he has capable players to fit all these positions. And he talked about how Abbas Mohamed over the years, or since the time he joined Asante Kotoko, has been one of their best players at left back. And most important is a natural right back, but for some of the games you've seen him play at left, so he feels that that shouldn't be a problem at all, because Augustine Sefa is coming back into the team, and Augustine Sefa will play at right back, and definitely will have someone like Abbas Mohamed. He watched the last game, and Habib Mohamed, who joined Asante Kotoko from Ashgold, was deployed as a right back. Although we all know his defensive abilities, he struggled in that game a bit. And it looks certain that in this very game, Siki Akono will deploy Habib Mohamed in central midfield, and that he definitely will partner someone like Kwame Bonsu, because I mean that we also know him to be very good in that position. So in terms of the placement of the players on the pitch and the unavailability of certain key players like Richard Senano and the skipper of the side, Emotion Paul, Siki Akono feels that will not affect his team in any way because he's got other good players who can fit in the positions that these players, as we've known them to be playing very well in this year's championship.
All right, now, Benedict, I'm sure that when you were having the conversations, you also had to, express your opinions about the way Kotoko has played so far. I mean, the thing about Kotoko's defense is how sometimes the ball watching is a major cause for concern. What do the fans have to say about this, based on the few conversations you've had so far?
Now, there is something about the Kumasi fans which is very, very fascinating. I mean, for them, if you win and you don't play good football, they won't take the win. If you lose and you play good football, at times, they try to, feel that, you are doing something right, but it's just unfortunate that you couldn't get a result. So that's why when Siki Akono came, the very first day, he made mention of the Agor football, the possessive football, which we've seen and we've known of the team in this year's competition. So for the fans, all that they are expecting is good football from the team and then getting in the result. Because at this stage, it's not just about playing good football, but it's also getting a result. So if you play good football and you don't get a result, then where are you going? And as their CEO, George Amafo, mentioned the last time we had a chat with him, he stated that it's not about a good football they are playing, but it's about getting results and getting wins. Because now you have to look at the number of points you have on the table to make the next stage of the competition. So at the end of the day, if you go through the 6 group games and you play good football and you're not able to make it to the next stage of the competition, then what do you gain? So for him, all that he's thinking about is to get the result. And it doesn't matter whether they play good football or do not play good football. But the fans, of course, expect the team to play good football and also get results.
Benedict, thank you very much. We're looking forward to commentary tomorrow.
Yes, of course. Not there'll be live commentary on Joy FM. The game will kick off here 4 p.m. initially. It was supposed to be 1 p.m. just as the last game, which Asante Kotoko played here against Zesco. They managed to, speak to the Confederation of Afghan Football. So this match will be played at 4 p.m. and per the time. It obviously will help in terms of the numbers that Asante Kotoko gets into the stadium. The last time they played against Zesco was on a Wednesday, and we saw how the fans came into the stadium on a working day. So we actually expect more people to come in the stadium, fill the stands and cheer the team up. And I'm very, very optimistic that Asante Kotoko can redeem their image and get their hopes of making the next stage of the competition back on track. Because, this year's CAF Confederation Cup, although we all know our football issues, they've been doing very, very well. They've played some good football in this year's competition. If you look at their away results, one would say that since they entered a group stage, it's not been that good. Yes, because results are not coming. We've lost 2 away games to Al Hilal and also to Nkana. But the prelims, we saw how Asante Kotoko went away and played very well against Kariobangi Sharks. They were just unfortunate not to have won that game, and how they went away to beat Cotton Sports and then came here to beat them to make this stage of the competition. We all know that when it gets to this time of the competition, it becomes very, very tight. Teams always want to get 3 maximum points at their backyard and then try to see what they can do when they go away. So at times, when you look at the dynamics and everything that is going on, you tend to understand that, yes, this is the Confederation Cup. It takes extra efforts to go away and do something, and that's what they tried to do the last time, and it's just unfortunate that the individual errors caused them. So tomorrow, God willing, there will be live commentary on Joy FM. The match will kick off at 4 p.m. Our build-up at the Baba Stadium will start at 3:30, where we'll speak to football analysts. We'll try and speak to officials of the club ahead of the game, and then myself and my colleague Jojadu, as well as Delali Asiasi and the rest of the team here in Kumasi will be on from 4 till 6, where by then we'll be hoping that Asante Kotoko will get a very comprehensive win, and also we'll be taking 3 maximum points to at least get 6 points on the table. Because now you look at the points on the table, we have Al Hilal who are leading with 6 points. Also, Zesco, by virtue of their draw with Al Hilal the last time, they all have 4 points, and Asante Kotoko are languishing bottom of that table. So we need the 3 maximum points to go up 6 same points as that of Nkana, and then we'll see what will happen in the game against Al Hilal, which fortunately Kotoko are playing at home next Sunday before they go away for their last game against Zesco United.
Benedict, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Benedict Owusu is with Joy Sports, and he is there in Kumasi, the Garden City, getting ready for tomorrow's events. Remember, our kickoff will be at 4 p.m. And of course, remember that we'll start the build-up from 3 here on Joy 99.7 FM. Let's go back on the phone line and speak to the manager in charge of communication for the National Circles Committee, the official supporters body of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, Michael Nkansa. Michael, good to have you here on the show. Are you already in Kumasi?
Good afternoon. We're grateful to be on the show this afternoon. I will be leaving for Kumasi early tomorrow morning.
Okay, great stuff. Tell me, what has been happening with mobilizing support for this game, considering the circumstances that Asante Kotoko say we will win the remaining 2 games in this stage and revive the campaign in the group stage. What's being done? We saw some very good numbers in the previous games.
Yeah, we are seriously working on getting our supporters to come support the team tomorrow. Come the next game against Nkana FC tomorrow at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium. We are doing a lot of work underground. Most of the things that we did at the beginning stages of this competition, even right away from the elimination stages, we realized that it is yielding some good results, and for that matter, the National Circles Council, in assistance with all the regional circles councils, are working so hard to make sure that we get the needed support for the team tomorrow. As I speak to you now, we have set up series of committees. We have about 3 or 4 committees who are seriously working from within Kumasi and outside Kumasi to ensure that we wipe the appetite of our supporters for tomorrow's game. I believe that there's one very significant thing that we realized when we traveled to Zambia to play in Nkana FC. We noticed that Nkana FC is a team that cannot boast of teaming supporters, and for that matter, even when we played them, the number of supporters that were at the stadium could be counted on fingertips, and so we are very much confident that if tomorrow we are able to mobilize enough supporters to throng the Baba Yara Sports Stadium, it will in one way or the other be one of the intimidating factors for the team, and so that is exactly what we are working on, and we are very much sure and very confident that tomorrow Asante Kotoko will surely get the needed scoreline to get the needed 3 points that we the supporters require. Because if you look at the performance of the team, there are some critics who argue that in recent times Kotoko have been struggling at the Kumasi Sports Stadium, more importantly, scoring goals with the higher margins, and the fact that we always concede anytime we play at the Kumasi Sports Stadium. But let me quickly state that when we played in the 2004 Confederations Cup, when we got to the finals and played Accra House of Folk, Kotoko never won an away, one single away match in that particular competition. In 2008, it was a similar results that we recorded in 2008. But we made sure that as soon as you land at the Kumasi Sports Stadium, whatever it is that we have to do to ensure that we get the 3 maximum points to better our chances, we will ensure that we do that and make sure we get the needed points and prepare ourselves for the quarterfinals of this year's Confederations Cup. And so we will surely win tomorrow's game. We are very confident. Our supporters are confident. The signals we are picking is that they will be there tomorrow, irrespective of the challenges. It's not about the tactics the coach is going to play. It's not about who plays tomorrow. It's not about which selection the coach does tomorrow. It's not about who does what. What is important is that it is an all-inclusive exercise. It is an all-inclusive responsibility, and it requires the support and the assistance of supporters. It requires the assistance and support of almost every former Kotoko player. And this afternoon, the executives of ACOPA, that is Asante Kotoko All Players Association, will be visiting the camp of the club to speak to the players, and we have quite a very good number of former Kotoko players who have accepted to do that. And this evening and tomorrow morning, I'm sure that exercise will be done, and the players will be in the right frame of mind to ensure that tomorrow they execute the task ahead.
How are you taking it that your arch rivals Accra Hearts of Oak have decided to offer support to you for this game, and their head, also known as Sunsum in football circles, has said this.
Well, no, I think that when it comes to association football, you and I have followed football for quite some time now. When we traveled to Sudan to play Al Hilal, we had some other Sudanese clubs.
Okay, hold on. I think I fluffed this thing. Please listen to me again. They say that they're going to offer support to Nkana.
I actually know what to say. Because I know
Nkana. Sure.
I know the genesis and the history to the question. So
okay, yeah, sure.
I will address it accordingly.
Sure.
When we traveled to Al Hilal, we got support from supporters of opposing sides to Al Hilal in Sudan. When we went to Zambia to play in Nkana FC last week, we equally got support from other
when did you want us to talk about it?
Teams who otherwise are not playing in the Confederations Cup and felt that they will have to give us that support to enable us either beat Nkana FC or take a good result from Zambia. So we are not perturbed about the information that or the signals that we are picking that some elements of Accra House of Hope have decided to give whether spiritual, physical, or whatever support of any kind to Nkana when they arrived here in Ghana. I think that it makes football very, very competitive, as we know. We are very sure that even if the entire supporters wing of Accra House of Hope wants to come to Kumasi Sports Stadium and pay the 80 Ghana Cedis gate fee, the 50 Ghana Cedis gate fee, the 20 Ghana Cedis gate fee, I'm sure tomorrow it will add up to the huge number of Asante Kotoko supporters who will be at the Kumasi Sports Stadium. And the number alone, as we are aware and as we believe, will be intimidating enough to Nkana FC, because as soon as we get that opposing side added to our numbers at the Kumasi Sports Stadium, we are very much confident that that number alone will be intimidating enough to ensure that Nkana FC gets scared on the field of play and they cannot even understand the kind of tactics and formations they are playing. And
so Michael, basically what you are saying is that you guys are going to convert that into an advantage for this game.
In fact, it is a model in economics that the least opportunity that comes your way, you convert it into a positive advantage and then let the opportunities available manifest in your activities and in your affairs. So we are just converting that so-called disadvantaged opportunity into an advantage opportunity, and exactly that is what we are going to do. And if they want to do that, we will make enough economic gains from that decision, and that is exactly what we are going to do. Because there's no way Nkana FC will survive tomorrow's game. There's no way Nkana FC will pick any a point from Kumasi Sports Stadium tomorrow. We are very confident that tomorrow we are picking the 3 maximum points, and we have assured ourselves that by the time we play match day 4, Asante Kotoko should be richer by 9 points. Then we will be able to say confidently to ourselves that we are cruising gradually to the quarterfinal stages of this year's Confederations Cup, to the admiration and to the glory of all football-loving fans in Ghana. More importantly, when football activities now is down in Ghana.
Okay. I mean, we lately we don't do it, but let's do it, because that is what the fans discuss in the stands. By now, it's happening in the bars and, in the public places. What kind of scoreline are we expecting? What kind of scoreline are you guys projecting for this game?
Well, you see, the last time I spoke to you, I did indicate to you that for some time now we have started some orientation program within the National Circles Council for Asante Kotoko supporters, and that is what the orientation program is targeted at, ensuring that we eliminate the perception and the expectation of our supporters going into any major competitive game where our supporters we develop that huge expectation that this particular game Kotoko must score 5 goals, this particular game Kotoko must score 4 goals, this particular game Kotoko must score 3 goals. We are gradually eliminating that huge expectation from the minds of our supporters and planting the seed of appreciation in football. That is, you have a team, you support the team to win, irrespective of the scoreline, irrespective of the number of goals that are scored. If it is a 3 points a competitive game, what is important is that we get the 3 points. If it is a game that requires you scoring huge number of goals, let us leave the scoring of the number of goals the players to execute that task on the field of play. So what we are doing is that we are not going to predict how many goals we are going to score in Ghana FC tomorrow. We are not going to predict how many goals we'll be scoring against Al Hilal when they come to Kumasi Sports Stadium. We are not going to predict the number of goals we will score against Zesco when we go to Zambia. What is important is that between now and the time we go to Zambia, Asante Kotoko should be richer by 6 points, that is in the home matches, and we pray that we'll go to Zambia and pick one additional point. And by the time the group stages are over and we are moving to the quarterfinals, Asante Kotoko should either be richer by 9 points or be richer by 10 points. And tomorrow, what is important is that we are beating Ghana FC and we are picking the 3 maximum points, irrespective of the number of goals that is scored. But I'm sure that by tomorrow, by the end of the game, the number of goals that will be scored will be manifestly clear for every football-loving fan in Ghana to believe that Asante Kotoko is indeed Asante Kotoko, and we have done what we have promised ourselves and what we have done to ensure that our supporters become very happy. And that is exactly what we'll do tomorrow.
Michael, thank you very much. All the best. All right, Michael Nkansa is in charge of communications for the official supporters body of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, saying that, look, it is, it's revival time. They will revive this campaign and they will do it in a spectacular way. Well, we're stretching towards the wrap up of the show and the end of the show. We will, open up for phone lines. Sorry, we'll open up for phone calls in a bit. So remember to just keep the number up there, 0302216541. But right now, we'll go over to Zambia. And my colleague journalist, Makondo Mokando, is on standby to tell me, what the expectations are like there, especially as Nkana FC won the first leg of this game. What level of confidence is there at home in Zambia? Mokando, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, and glad to be on Joy FM.
Great. Now, tell me, Nkana FC won the first leg, and I'm guessing that fans back at home will be, brimming with a lot of confidence ahead of this game, even though it's away, and even though they'll be facing, a big sea of red at the Baba Yara Stadium with all of these hostile fans.
Yes, of course. Nkana are very optimistic. Ironically enough, the Nkana faithful also don on the red colors, so you might be forgiven if our Nkana players mistake your fans for being theirs and feed off the energy that will be coming through from the fans that will be in the Baba Yara Stadium.
All right. Now, in terms of, you've also been following the team. You know what's been happening here. They've had successful training sessions and all of that. What's the expectation, coming into this game in terms of what kind of possible result they can come out with, looking at the trajectory that they followed, in this group stage? Nkana currently are leading the pack.
Yeah, so for Nkana, all in all, their intent and purpose coming to Ghana, they are hoping to walk away with all 3 points. But, with a big strong but, they do have a problem in that both central defenders who have been their pillar throughout their first bid to try and play in group stage of the Champions League and falling through into the Confed Cup into Group C where they are now. The two pillars, Okran, of course, Ghanaian, and Musa Mohammed, the Kenyan international, both of them will be missing in this particular tie when they take on Asante Kotoko. So, all in all, it's going to be a new central defensive partnering, and that might be the problem. I honestly think the best result Nkana is going to leave with from the Baba Yara Stadium is a draw.
A draw with scores or a draw with goals?
A scoring draw, because unfortunately, I wasn't really convinced by the defense of Asante Kotoko. It did not scare us. Of course, you did have Habib Mohammed at right back. He was very forceful, very imposing. But the center of defense, Abdul Ganil and Ajamang Badu, they were not convincing. And with the likes of Ronald Kampamba, who scored the brace against you guys, not the tallest of strikers, but we call him the fox in a box. Very, very intelligent player. Goes silent for spells in the game, but always comes to life at the key moments. And when you see a striker of that stature scoring a header against, 6'2", 6'3" defenders, it just shows you the intelligence of that player. So that's one player who you should honestly be watching out for, Ronald Kampamba. And of course, the captain of the side, Walter Wadia, very strong lad, did win a couple of flick-on headers, and that's one of the other key players that will be leading the line for Nkana.
Now, let's talk about the fans generally at home. I mean, Nkana has done well so far. I mean, up to this point, they've done well. They're leading Group C. Are fans already talking about Nkana FC probably getting into maybe the semi-final stages and making it to the final? What are the enthusiasm levels like back at home?
So, well, they are very optimistic, but it's optimism with caution. When Ghana started their continental engagements, they took on FC Songo of Mozambique. They won away, which was very convincing, and they won at home. But for them to fall out of the Champions League, they took on Simba FC of Tanzania, and they lost away from home. So a lot of fans now are thinking, okay, in Ghana, maybe they perform okay when they're away from home. Here in Zambia, they took on Zesco United, who they happen to be in the same group with, and they lost away from home 2-0. So already it shows you that Ghana are not very good travelers away from home, and in particular in this leg of the Confederations Cup. So it is optimism, but with a lot of caution.
All right, so let's see how all of it goes, and I'll call you up again after the game, and we'll see who laughs at each other, who laughs, who does the final laugh.
It'll be a good pleasure. It was nice to see. I mean, Yakuba, Giamfi, Fatua, those guys leading the line very well. Bonsu as well in the middle of the park. Your team is very good, but I don't know, for some reason, they were a little relaxed when they took on Nkana. Maybe they thought the same laissez-faire attitude that Zesco showed when they visited Kumasi would be the same that they would get from Nkana. But I would urge your players to be very watchful and very cautious, because Nkana on their day can be quite a thorn in the flesh.
Makondo, thank you very much.
Thanks, it's been a pleasure.
Makondo Mukando is a sports journalist based in Lusaka, Zambia. And of course, the fans there are expectant with a little bit of caution. Remember that Nkana FC are leading Group C currently. Kumasi Asante Kotoko are seated there at the bottom. But the mathematics can just change. Things can just change depending on the kind of results that Kotoko derive from this game. Let's do some messages. We're heading towards the finish line. We've just got about 3.5 minutes to wrap up the show. So 0302-216-541. Squeeze through, let us hear you. 0302-216-541. So there's a message here from Che in Winneba. He says, Joshua is the best defensive boxer Ghana has ever produced. Not even Azuma has his defense. However, he does not know when to attack and sustain it and finish it. I hope he's more experienced now. There's another message from Clifford in Winneba. It says, I suggest Kwame Boahen should be at the right wing, and Baku should play behind the attack, where he will be more dangerous for Asante Kotoko. Okay, thank you very much, Clifford, for that message. Thank you very much for that message. There's another message here. If Asante Kotoko need the cup, I think they need to lift their game. This is from Joseph Achiman in Community 9 in Tema. Okay, we're trying our best to squeeze in a call or two before we wrap up the show. Heading towards the finish line now. Time is not our best friend, but hey, it happens sometimes, doesn't it?
A message.
Okay, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on the Joy Sports Link.
Yes, I know it's a Joy Sports Link, but I wanted to use your medium to pass an information.
Unfortunately, okay, so we'll take that call again. Unfortunately, we lost you on the line. All right, we'll try to get back to that caller. I'm sure it's something pretty urgent. All right, so for the London derby, it's Arsenal 1, Tottenham Hotspurs 0. Oh my goodness, Tottenham Hotspurs. Their fans must be so incensed right now. Well, this is football. It happens like that sometimes. Apologies to our listeners, those of you who are unable to call. But remember, there's live commentary on that game here. It's Kumasi Asante Kotoko playing the return fixture against Nkana FC. In the first leg, it was 3-1 against Kumasi Asante Kotoko. The fabulous lads say that this is the time when they will stage a massive revival. What a story it will be to tell. We will bring you the commentary. Kickoff is at 4 p.m. Build-up begins after 3 here on your Super Dial. Komla Dum is here, ready with the Joy headline news at 2. Let me just say a very big thank you to my team, my sitting team here, Selwyn on social media, and Fifi Fossen with technical production. Hope you enjoyed the show, and remember, you can get the sporting sermon on the Joy Sports page on Facebook, also the Joy FM wall, and also my personal Facebook page. It's Nathaniel Atto Citizen Atto on Facebook. And I'm going to have all of the sporting sermons pasted and posted there after these shows. So sometime last week, I found myself in Ashanti Agogo for the burial of a former Asante Kotoko board member and former IGP, Mr. Kweku Peprache. And he had a very fitting burial. We'd like to say thank you to everybody at the IGP and his whole team of commissioners. It was a very wonderful parade they put up for the former IGP and Kumasi Asante Kotoko board member, Mr. Kweku Peprache. All right, guys, thank you so much. It's been wonderful sharing your company, and let's do this again next week, 12:10 p.m. sharp. I will be on your radio by God's grace. Komladum will bring you the Joy headline news at 2. My name is Nathaniel Atto, and I have love for sport.